started. It is officially 1 o'clock right now, Marialice. So are you ready to rock and roll?
I am. I see Carol Carter is joining in as well. So I feel like if we're going to kick this off, I want to thank Carol Carter and the Global Minded community for inviting Jaime and I to join today for this webinar. What we're going to be sharing today is really a passion for both of us, where we combine our interests. And this is something that, you know, in other conferences we've gone and we've done, where we take, my interest is digital citizenship. So I'm always looking for ways of how do we embed that into a variety of different ways. And Jaime, you want to share about you?
I'm passionate about taking the technologies we have with immersive technology and bringing it to our students, giving them a chance to be the creators and bringing that future for them as well. And I will also mention, speaking of virtual, since we are here virtually, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. I'll be watching, Marialice will be watching, and here at the end, we'll definitely try to get through as many questions as we possibly can to help support you and give you the information. But if we don't get to you by the end, because that happened to us yesterday, we will certainly be available and ready to answer any questions. So feel free to reach out to us. And also yesterday, I had a lot of people ask about certificates. That's something I didn't even talk about beforehand, but a lot of people are looking for that. So I would be happy to follow up with people. Marialice and I will follow up with you and get you a participation certificate for joining in today, because I know many of you are trying to get as many credits as possible, and it's difficult to find free webinars. So we're thankful for Global Minded sponsoring this and allowing this to be a discussion that goes out to their community and to ours, and giving you a chance. I see Katie McNamara also joining in, Janie Johnson joining in. We have Connecticut and lots of great Kansas, Minnesota, lots of great folks, Toronto. So loving all of the names. So Marialice, I think we are officially ready to go.
Wonderful. And I feel like, you know, just from the fact that we are all been learning, working at home, one thing about, you know, being on these calls is I will keep going back to that chat, but specifically if anybody had a question, to put it in that Q&A, that will definitely, so we don't miss anything. I think that will help everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to share my screen so that, can you see it?
I do. It's beautiful.
Okay, wonderful. And I also want to make sure it's not covered by our, do I need to move anything so you can?
Yeah, I would move it over just a hair to your left. So tighten up your screen a little bit so that it.
Okay, wonderful. So, like we said, we are really grateful to Carol Carter and the Global Minded community for inviting us here. Global Minded is definitely interested in future work. It's diverse and inclusive, and I feel like what Jaime and I are going to be presenting really applies to K-12 as well as higher education, but in the workplace as well. This isn't just what we should be doing at school, it's what we should be doing at home and what we should be doing at the workplace. Mm-hmm. So here we are, Jaime, the two of us. Here's our contact information. Jaime and I, we present really around the world, and any opportunity that we have, we try to co-present and bring our interest together, combine our interests. I just happen to be, just as a brief introduction, the author. I co-authored this book with my son, who happens to be 13. It's our journey, our digital citizenship journey as a mother and son, called DigCit Kids. We invited others to join along with us and share how do they learn side by side, because the story that, and the message that I really want to emphasize today is this really isn't about the technology. This is about that human connection, that willingness to say, I'm a learner before I'm anything else, and I'm willing to learn alongside, whether it's my child, my teen, my colleague. And so one of those messages right there is, you just, today, all I'm asking for is that you will have a willingness to learn alongside us. Jaime, I'm going to put yours up.
Awesome. I'm Jaime Donally in Texas. And, you know, it's true that Marialice and I spend a lot of time together at conferences and share a lot of interests. And digital citizenship is obviously where it really has that foundation. a lot of the things that I share with immersive technology, you kind of get people that are like, I want nothing to do with that, or people that are like, I want to do it all. And I think there has to be a balance, there has to be discussions, there has to be the foundation of how we use this and why we use this. So what a great perspective to have both intertwined in here. And we've had, I don't know, for years now, we've been talking about this. We've had a couple of different conferences now. We've had a chance to go out and share and give people a chance to really just engage and grow in this area. So it's been definitely a wonderful opportunity to connect immersive technology. And you can also find me on my website, which is arvrinedu.com. And you can find tons of different resources. Even Marialice has went on there and written some articles there, which is part of our blog. So definitely a connection within properly using digital citizenship for our classrooms and what that looks like within immersive tech.
Jamie, if I was going to add anything, those last two images of the two of us with our quotes, it's really changing mindsets. And that's the message that we really want to hammer home today, is that this really, that's whether, I mean, what's happening right now is like, there are so many unknowns, like what is to happen? When are we going to get back to school? When are we going to get back to work? And really, if there's anything that we can all embrace, is this changing of that mindset. The way that we believe that you can do this, and whether that is doing this alongside your child, your teen, your colleague, is to identify a real problem that is happening in a local, global, or digital community, and then to make this commitment to digital citizenship, and then connect that to the global goals and make a digital impact. So we've included on this slide this new definition of digital citizenship, which is so proactive. And the 5 components I absolutely love: how to be alert, balanced, informed, engaged, and inclusive. If we can take those 5 things, connect them to the global goals, while we look for examples about like a real problem, which we'll be sharing today, some exact problems, I'm actually just going to play this. We put on a summit in Cameroon, and the focus was on digital citizenship, which is really, I mean, digital citizenship, I'll back up, means so many things to so many people. Unfortunately, historically, it's been in that safety space. And yes, safety is so important. But what we've always been interested in is extending that conversation beyond safety. And so when we put on an event in Cameroon, the young people connected. They identified a problem. They connected it to the global goals. And then we were using the hashtag DigCitSDGs. So I'm just going to play this from DigCit Summit Cameroon.
Digital citizen. I'm called Yves Stéphane Galeux. I work as an online volunteer. My vision is to have a platform where farmers can have access to good agricultural practices and put a price through a non-structured supplementary service code. I am a digital citizen.
Hello, I'm Marialice Banker. I've been advocating for the Sustainable Development Goals. And if we are productive, together we can work together to make the world a better place by 2030.
I am a digital citizen.
Hello, my name is Jaime Donally. Research proves that on average, 16 million young people across Africa, including Cameroon, have not had access to university or any higher education to acquire relevant skills that can enable them to compete in the job market. And our big picture is that by 2025, we should be operating in at least 25 African countries, empowering at least 100,000 young people with relevant skills.
There's a lot of changes that we can make in our society, but then we are not exposed to the right information to push us to think in that direction. So the platform is just basically, putting forward that kind of knowledge, putting forward that kind of information that can spark motivation, that can motivate you also to think differently.
I am a digital citizen. Je m'appelle Giovanel.
Je suis payé sur le compteur d'instant formation. La majorité du déficit avec un 3,8% supplémentaire. I am a digital citizen.
Hello, I'm a digital citizen. My vision is to expand, mobilize a digital network for women startups within Africa to connect them for greater impact to achieve gender equality, decent work, and economic growth. Thank you.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Bertrand Solanga, je suis le cofondateur de la startup Digital Space. Il s'agit d'un moyen simple et rapide qui va apporter une valeur ajoutée au tourisme camerounais et pourquoi pas africain. Merci.
And just for the idea of time, since we have an hour with you, I won't play all of it, but as you could see, each one of the young people in Cameroon, they were identifying a real problem, they were connecting it to the global goals, and then they were solving it. So if anything, what Jaime and I are really hoping today is that, like, start to think, what are some real problems that are happening in your community, your local community, the global community, a digital community, and what can we do to help be alert online, to solve problems online, and ultimately to become a force for good. So we are actually going to be doing this, connecting it to a DigCit impact model. And we're going to be bringing you through, the only problem is when I do that, right? You can't see it. Should I go back and minimize, Jaime?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you minimize it, we'll give it, and,
okay. So everyone can see it.
They'll have access to this later, so they can
right.
certainly go through.
So we're using, and this is what we've been doing, we've been using this model about the DigCit commit, making a commitment to digital citizenship, very important. But I don't know about you, but for like New Year's Eve, when, you know, I want to come up with, what am I going to commit for my New Year's resolution? I might say, I'm going to commit to a healthy lifestyle. I might even pay for a year membership at a gym, but that doesn't mean that I'm actually ever going to step foot. So what we like to do, and what I really like to do with Jaime, is how do you take this, make this commitment to something proactive and not just talk about it, but actually put it into action. So our impact model has helped us, and what Jaime and I have put together is both digital citizenship and immersive technologies, how you, like, what this looks like in action. Jaime, I feel like I've been talking way too much, so I want to make sure. I mean, the I for our impact model is really looking at that intergenerational, like what we had said in the beginning. This isn't just what young people do in school. This is what you do at home. And not just, this is what my child or teen does at home, but as the parent, this is what I need to do when I go to work. So the idea of not just being a consumer online, but being a creator, and this willingness to learn side by side. I can tell you, I want to give out a shout out. And since I'm sharing my screen, Jaime, I can't see any of the comments in the chat or the Q&A, but I don't know.
I'm in the background watching it.
Good. I don't know if Lakeshore Central is joining us, but they are like our model school. And I absolutely love, I'm just going to play this really quickly. It's inspired by, if you don't know this program called Cyber Seniors out of Toronto, I adore this program, and they have this wonderful documentary, but I'm going to just, inspired by Cyber Seniors, we have brought this model of not just learning in school, but actually learning outside of school. And we went to this senior center, and I'm just going to play this because this is what learning needs to look like in all communities.
So the whole idea behind our meeting here today is we look at it as you're never too old to learn something new, and you're never too young to make a difference and teach somebody. So we like for the students to be teachers, and we would love for our expert learners who have so much experience in this world to be able to share that and just to come together and to learn from one another. And we're going to do that, and technology is going to help us capture that and to share and learn, and hopefully this becomes a little bit of a journey that we can take together. So the students are going to share with you a new tool. I'm sure it's something that you've never heard before. It's called Flipgrid today, and we're going to talk about what that means and really how that is. So we use it to amplify student voice, but today we'll get to use it to amplify everyone's voice. So it's a neat tool. I think you have some fun with it. And then when we can come back again, we can use some other tools. And actually the Cyber Seniors program that we have access to has materials and resources in there that will help you and could even keep you connected even in the times that we're not together, which I think will be pretty neat. So, yeah. Hey, we're learning something new, so that's the whole purpose of this, is coming together so we can get connected.
Just because of time, I think you get that idea about this willingness to learn together. And now that we are in COVID-19, what's your community look like? How are you reaching out and making a difference in the seniors in your community? That's, to me, it's fabulous. So please check out Cyber Seniors out of Toronto. They have a wonderful program. And like I just said, it inspired us to do some community outreach at Lakeshore Central. Jaime, I want you to jump in about, for immersive technology, another possible way that this can be done.
Yeah, so looking at this, it's so funny because we were looking at different tools and it's like, well, that one will fit, that one will fit. And it's like, well, let's think about this. Thinking about the intergenerational approach and talking about, some of the stuff that we used to do maybe when we were growing up, and how we're still keeping that going within our students, but how AR and VR has really refreshed that for students and given an opportunity to bring, our parents and our students together to learn and grow together. And one of the tools that I listed here was the new Dr. Seuss ABC AR alphabet book. So we're taking that traditional way of a book that you would read with your child or with your students, and allowing that technology to be something that's actually at your home. Or in your classroom, and giving your students a chance to connect to the content in a way that really they prefer. They want to see it in multiple ways beyond just hearing it and reading it inside of the book. So Marialice, if you want to go ahead and push play, they'll get an idea of how this works within the app. So when you first open it up, sure, yeah. So when you first open it up, the first thing you're going to practice is actually writing out the letters, both capital and lowercase.
Well done.
And as you're doing this, what you're going to notice is the book is
working. Best.
So I love that because it goes through several different letters that you can do. And every single letter, of course, is animated. You see something happening, but what it's doing is it's taking the concept of not just reading it, but now I'm actually writing, I'm practicing where to start, how to write these letters, to now I'm even seeing it sitting here in my, on my desk or on the floor in my living room. And I'm then seeing those characters come to life and dancing around it. Now that was just one small example. There's a lot of interactions, like I was actually tapping things, which is what you were hearing. So the students aren't just seeing it, now they're interacting with the content. And they're interacting in a way that is bringing it to their world. And I think that's really important because the relevancy of what this means to them might be super disconnected. We can laugh at all the rhymes and everything in Dr. Seuss, but maybe for a student that's really struggling, that's not enough. But the students that really appreciate the connection to the technology and being able to see that and explore that in their space for as long or as short as they need, it really puts it back in their hands. And not only that, it connects the dots between the old with our parents to now the new with our students. It's taking those two different generations of loving Dr. Seuss and really connecting the dots to help them learn deeper. So that's one example. There's actually, if you didn't notice this, but the book was digital. And so this is great because it's a free app. And our students that maybe don't actually have those books, maybe they've never even had a chance to read those books. And maybe they've never had a teacher come out and read those books for them, but this gives them a chance to bring it into their home or into their classroom, even without the book itself. So I just love what they've done with it. It is actually the very first augmented reality experience app for Dr. Seuss ever. So I anticipate we'll see more of that and more of his content coming out. We hope to. We all can relate to that, right?
And for everyone that notices, we created our presentation on a digital storytelling platform called Bunsey that we will share out, and there are different links. In particular, Jamie, you want to talk about, this is going to end up linking to 31 days of, you want to just,
sure,
so everyone will have these resources.
Thank you so much for reminding me about that. So every single resource that I share, it's not just me talking about it or just showing it. The beauty of this is Marialice actually hyperlinked every blog for this topic. So you won't be left without knowing where to go and what to do and where to download this. There's a full blog with videos, images for you to reference back to and have access to really understand how to bring this back into the classroom, as well as exactly which items you need to download and step-by-step directions on how to use it. So it will really give you the full picture of using this technology for you to take back beyond. So we're not just sharing it and telling you it's out there. This is a research for you to be able to go back and actually apply this in the future.
And this, I just got a text message from Carol so that I can remind everyone that this will be uploaded onto Global Minded's YouTube, and that Global Minded to contact for CEUs as well. So that's another great message. So we want to look at so taking digital citizenship, immersive technology, putting it into action, not just talking about it, not having an assembly where we talk at students, but we learn with them. We've went from the intergenerational to our M, which is really looking at being meaningful and deliberate, that this is like intentional when we are planning how to be alert, balanced, engaged, informed, inclusive, like what that looks like in action. So this is like, I can tell you, my son, our DigCit kids, mother and son journey, my son was always like, Mom, why are adults, this is when he was like in preschool and kindergarten, why are adults always talking about student voice? Why aren't students empowering other students? And he would also, his message, his story, which is a very unique story, if we had longer, I would tell it. But when he was in elementary school, he would talk about that how he learned at school and how he learned at home was different. And that he was a connected learner in an unconnected classroom. And I love that quote. If you want us to learn about the world, we need to learn with the world. And this is actually what we're doing in this webinar is a perfect example. I want to give it a shout out to Mary Jalen, my favorite. You'll never hear me say this. I know I probably am always really positive and giving lots of shout outs, but my favorite classroom ever is Mary Jalen in Scotland. And she's done, actually, this is going to be a link to her DigCit Impact Talk. I'm going to just show this really, really quickly because I use this example all the time, no matter what age I'm talking to, because if 4 and 5-year-olds can do it, my gosh, there's so much more that I can do. And so when you're 4 and 5, no matter where you live, you are learning your math facts. You're also learning about all the different roles in your community. And look, her 4 and 5-year-olds learned when they went out into the community that homelessness was a major issue in Scotland. And alongside their teacher, they decided they were really upset about this. What could they do? How could they solve this problem? Wait till you see this. I'll make it larger.
Did you know some people in the world don't even have a toilet? Some people have to go into the seats to do the toilet. There's loads of flies and the place was stinking. Every minute one child dies because of poor hygiene. That's terrible. When there's no proper toilet, diseases can spread. It's very smelly. People get diarrhea and all sorts of diseases. People at school, because they have to go a long way to get water. If you don't have clean water to wash your hands, you'll get sick. It's not fair. Everyone needs a toilet. This is very serious. I want to build a toilet. For somebody who doesn't have one, we can make a difference.
That is the message.
To build a toilet. That's me, £60. I'm going to learn 60 flashcards like these. Sportsmanship. 5, 6, 3.
And only because of time, I won't show the whole video, but they were hoping to donate 1 toilet, and they actually were able to donate 4. And I love this example because when you think about using tech for good and embedding digital citizenship, connecting it to the global goals, that is the example. And it's solving a real problem in their community. So Jaime, I'm gonna have you jump in about adding to that idea of community and learning together and having a really meaningful experience.
Absolutely. So yesterday, the webinar that we had was on the very topic I'm going to share just briefly, called Mozilla Hubs. And, you know, the tool is always going to change. So I want everybody to understand that it's not the tool. It's really the mindset, you know, changing the mindset of what you can do and should do. So yes, we're sharing resources, and today it's Mozilla Hubs, but tomorrow it might be something different. And it's really just looking for what is going to meet the needs of your students. And in this case, we are meeting them where they're at. And, you know, we had a webinar yesterday. There was, I don't know, 130 people at one point joining in and discussing. Right now, we have several people joining in on a webinar discussing and talking and, you know, thinking through this. But many of our students might be at a place where they don't have the right device to do those things. They don't have the most up-to-date mobile device or up-to-date tablet or up-to-date computer, and you know, so they may be very limited. So what I love about Mozilla Hubs is that it is just browser based. So any device that will connect with the browser is going to function in Mozilla Hubs. And what it does is it actually connects you with virtual reality. And Marialice, I think some of the videos might be covered up as they're playing, so we may just want to go ahead and maximize those videos when it's playing. So I'll go ahead and just briefly show you what this looks like and talk you through it. So here is an example of using Mozilla Hubs, and I used an app within Mozilla Hubs called Spoke. And Spoke allows you to create your own virtual reality background and experience. And so this is one way that I did that. And I have, you can see right here, you have in the creator, I'm going to go ahead and pull in some objects. Marialice, if you want to go and just forward through, I pulled in these objects just by typing and looking for them. Whatever I liked, I was able to just click and drag and drop into the space. And
tell me when.
Yeah, keep going. I'd say go about halfway through. There we go. So there's the space that I built. I invited people yesterday to come in and join, and we were able to go in and draw just like this, and we were able to take selfies. We were able to leave emojis and pull in other 3D objects. Again, this is all done through your browser, so you don't have to install an app. You don't have to have a VR headset to do this. This can all be done depending on whatever device you're using. So if you want to go ahead and just let that play through towards the end, because I think I invite people in to come in and you know, learn with me. I actually did a Facebook Live because I was in my VR headset. There's a link there that I show. And then from here, you can kind of see the two different perspectives. The one person that's joining in on a computer, in that case, both are me, but the other person is joining in on a mobile device, and one person's drawing and the other person's watching that person draw and seeing what's going on and moving around, and you can actually hear each other and talk to one another. So I love this because it really bridges the gap. Right now, a lot of our students are feeling alone. There's a lot of emotions going on that are very raw, and how they are disconnected. That's just completely opposite of our human nature. And I can't say that going in VR is going to be the exact replica of meeting face to face, because that's not true. But it does bridge a gap in a way that we don't have by just talking right now like we are on Zoom. It really gives you a different dynamic when you're in virtual reality together. To hear somebody that is around you and turning around and hearing and seeing them, to be able to interact, we can pull in images, we can pull in video, we can have slides. Right here, I'm taking a selfie. So inside of Mozilla Hubs, what I like about this is, one, that it is cross-platform, so it's going to be very universal in how it can be used. But two, it gives us a place to create. and being able to create content and having the flexibility of meeting our students and others, staff, and giving them a chance to connect in a way that we really could not do without this kind of technology. So I just love that Mozilla Hubs one is free, completely free. It's accessible for many. It gives the chat box option. So if you are hearing impaired, it gives you the option of collaborating in that way. If you are wanting to join in and maybe not be on video, which, you know, sometimes that's us, right? We don't want to be on video. This kind of puts you behind that scene to be able to still interact and engage and create together. So Marialice, thank you so much for playing that. And we had a lot of fun exploring that yesterday.
Again, when they get this, there'll be a link to the how-to blog as well. All right, this is Deanne. I think Deanne is joining us. I think she's on, I can't see, but I'm pretty sure she's here from Lakeshore. We got to co-present the three of us.
She is totally on right now, yes.
Yay! So a shout out to Deanne, because the three of us got to present in January in Miami at FETC. And we actually, during our session, the participants were able to create something using both merge and co-spaces. So do you want me to start, Jamie, with like just kind of showing? Because
this was a really interesting thing, because Deanne, this is her video. This is what she built and created. So yeah, feel free to push play and let us see.
Before I hit play, I'll say that they took the 5 new competencies, being alert, balanced, informed, engaged, inclusive, and added them. And then Jamie, I won't have the right terminology for like technically how you did this on merge and co-spaces, but this is just, to me, just a wonderful example of how the two are learning side by side. Here we go.
So this is a merge cube, if you can kind of see that in the background, and it's a digital layer. So this is augmented reality layered on top, and Deanne created these images and layered them on each side to describe each item. And so she created graphics, then layered those graphics on each side of the cube using an app called CoSpaces. And you can do it on your mobile device, you can do it on a tablet, you can create on a Chromebook, web-based tool. And so being able to go in and build around the cube. Now, when we opened this up to participants in our session, they were actually building and creating using CoSpaces in various ways. So they had tons of different ideas. We had somebody writing about blogging and keeping in mind how they blog and including others and what they're blogging about and being kind. You had people take different perspectives from each one. You know, they got to choose whatever one they want, but they had to visualize it in 3D in augmented reality. And then at the end, we actually showcased all that they created. So Deanne created this as an example, but everybody that was in our session actually built it. They're live with us. And then we, and because they were part of my classroom, I took a merge cube and then I displayed everybody's presentation in augmented reality in 3D inside the merge cube. It's mind blowing, but literally nobody in there that started had ever used CoSpaces before. By the end of it, they were actually building on the merge cube. So it was great action, because one, to process what you're hearing and actually put it into action by visually showing what that looks like is on a whole different level than memorizing what that says and what it means. That is one, you know, part of it. But for them to take that, then to apply it into the next level and then be able to visually display that is just a whole nother level.
And I also, before, this idea of, you know, personalizing it, I mean, it's important to meet people where they are. So this is not a one size fits all when it comes to technology, because everybody's starting at a different starting point and comfort level. So you meet them where they are and you really kind of personalize this learning process. I also have that visual on here. I can tell you, I've been in this space for digital citizenship over 10 years, and it is a confusing space because it's such a broad topic. It means so many things. And a lot of times people don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about digital citizenship. And so we have talked about personalizing this. We are starting to make this shift, and we're ready to launch this new program called Digital Sportsmanship. And honestly, every time I mention digital sportsmanship, 100% everybody knows what I'm talking about, because it's good sportsmanship on and off the field, on and off the court, on and off the ice, on and offline. And it takes, again, those 5 new competencies and puts it into action. So that's just another way of, you know, and in fact, I should add another hashtag here, Jamie, not just at school, at home, at work, but at play, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, here we go for our action piece. Now, this goes hand in hand with CoSpaces, since you just talked about our last example with Merge. But I'm really excited because this is so inclusive. You want to talk about the Immersive Reader, which is part of Bunsey.
Yeah, the Immersive Reader has been an integration in many ed tech products out there right now, which is promising. I think that should be something that every company considers. What Immersive Reader does is it takes the content that you have available through an app or website, or you know, the content that you have and whatever you're displaying. And if they have an integration with Microsoft's Immersive Reader, what it does is it opens up the door for them to actually see visually the way that they need. So my daughter has dyslexia, and she prefers to have a purple background color to be able to follow along the lines. They've kind of worked with her to decide, you know, what color is the best color for you to actually follow along and read along the lines. And purple, for some reason, is that color for her. So she has those overlays to be able to help her align her with reading. In addition to that, you know, you have students that might be, you know, not native English speakers. So it will actually translate into multiple language packages. I mean, it's a ton of language packages, and they're continuously adding. As you can see here with Merge, their platform that they've released this past year, all included the Immersive Reader. My husband's a science teacher, and he had a student for the first time that, you know, we're in Texas, and he had a student that had no English ever. So this is the first English experience. So he's like, how do I support her in science when I can't speak to her? And I said, well, hey, you've got Immersive Reader within Merge, so, you know, get her on, get her exploring, and you never know how much more she's going to learn than those students that are just listening to you speak, right? So giving them a chance to really engage in the content. In this case, they're looking at breeding with bugs and looking at genes and all that kind of stuff that are aligned with that. But as they're going through it, they're selecting what their preference is. They can select a larger size for our visually impaired students. They can also show, you know, verbs and adjectives, and looking from the language arts perspective and helping them identify sentence structure. And so all of those tools are available, both color, size, preference, language preferences, all within the content of how it's delivered to them. And that's just never been out there before. If it is, it's been very limited to just this or just this. And Immersive Reader is a real game changer. So to see companies, especially in immersive tech, that have taken this to the next level for us, as I could see here in the post, to take this to a global perspective, right? Being able to connect with people all over the world with whatever content that originated from in that language, to now have it accessible across the world, is brilliant. And I'm really excited to see that they've taken that initiative to be a part of that.
I'm just going to share another shout out to Lakeshore Central. I know that right now we are not in a situation where we could physically put on a community event like this, but last year we put on a student-led Digital Citizenship Summit, where the students, there were a pilot group of 20 classrooms from kindergarten to 12th grade, and it was set up like an open house. And it was on Superintendent's Day. So every faculty member, every staff member, every administrator, school board, parents, outside community came to learn with the students. Like, usually what happens, historically speaking, is you'd have like an expert come to talk about digital citizenship or safety as a school assembly. This is actually my wish for all school communities. I'm just going to show it quickly so you get a visual. Learning side by side.
at a time.
I won't show the whole thing, but I just wanted you to get that feel. There were it was like an open house. We were in the cafeteria, we were in the gymnasium, we were in the media center, and we were in the foyer. And when you came in, you got a different colored ticket, and you were able to just move around these different stations and learn with students. And even though we physically can't be doing that right now, I mean, just through Zoom, this is still, how do we create experiences for our community to learn together? That's our ultimate goal, especially the message that we want to share during this webinar. Okay, we're to the C of our impact model, which is all about community. And this is, again, Lakeshore Central. That idea, it doesn't matter where you live, what language you speak, how young or old you are. We are one world, one human race. And so we took I'm a Digital Citizen in all these different languages. But for the community at Lakeshore, the Seneca language, the language is there's a concern that it's going to go forward. And so elders had to get involved to help. What would I'm a Digital Citizen, what would that be in the language? And this to me is, really taking a legacy and making sure it's in the future. This is what it sounds like. I just love that. And just to remind, Jamie and I actually did this for a week in October during DigCit Week, that idea of what we did at Lakeshore Central. And even though that was in person, this can happen online in 1 week. There were 5 days. We connected classrooms, 37 countries, 43 states, and over 100,000 students committed to become a force for good. Classrooms were teaching classrooms. And for Eugenia, who's joining us, that was so awesome, because during that week that we put that event online, headquarters actually was in Mexico on Wednesday, and everything that we did was in Spanish. And the #1 response was, how can we get more? There isn't enough. Where can we get more opportunities for Spanish speaking communities to learn together? So Jamie, let's just share about Minecraft Earth, because I know we're kind of in competition about this.
Well, first off, let me say, as far as also community, that same week, Marialice joined me here in my hometown, my town that I live in, and that's White Oak, Texas. And she came in and joined with the students that were brought throughout the day. We were invited in to come and share. And the way that we worked, kind of like what we're doing right now with the school, is talking about what digital citizenship is, how it should impact our communities. And really we're pleading to the kids, how can this be something that you take and impact your own community, and looking outside of yourself. So oftentimes you hear about this technology. There are people that take technology like virtual reality, for instance, and how they use it. We have people that have been in war and they lose limbs and they have issues with phantom pain. And in that phantom pain, they may not have a hand there, but they feel the pain in their hand. And they don't understand why, but it's there. And that pain that they're struggling with is there. So, what they do is they drug them. Here's a bunch of drugs, let's fix that pain. Even though that's not really there, your brain's telling it's there, and you're in pain and you're experiencing this. So what they have found, even with virtual reality, is they gave people a chance to heal by letting them see limbs. They would go into this VR, they would see their arms, they would see legs, they would see hands, they would see feet. And whatever limb that they were missing and dealing with that pain would immediately go away with no medication whatsoever, just by tricking their brains into seeing something that wasn't really there. And that's a powerful message. I mean, I have so many stories about how we use AR and VR to really connect us to content that really give us this experience that would be impossible without it, right? But Minecraft Earth, the reason why I'm laughing is because this tool came out. It was, Minecraft, it's still beta, but Minecraft Earth came out, and I have been just chomping at the bits to get a hold of it. So I kept contacting Microsoft, come on. Finally got access to it. Marialice hops on, and I'm like, let me teach you a new tool, Marialice. You're going to love this. So what does Marialice do? She goes home, and she is outscoring everybody I know. She has the top score probably for the country. This woman is a, what are you doing? Mining. She is a miner. So I just can't believe.
I'm a team player. I want to mind. I'll mind. You build.
So what am I doing? I'm going in there and trying to follow all the rules, playing all the competitions. What Minecraft Earth does, though, is it really allows you to go in and collect items in your community, and then you're building in your community too. And so whatever is being built can be a collaborative effort. And Marialice and I actually, a few months ago in February, got together. We were getting ready for a conference, and at the hotel room, we were trying to play, and I go, let's collaborate. It's time. And she's like, I'm tired. I'm like, you can do this. Come on, it's Minecraft Earth. So we hop on, and she's building, I'm building, and we're in the space, and all of a sudden she puts a spider into the room, and the spider starts attacking me, and I'm like, get your spider out of here. So then I collect her spider, and I'm like, I got to steal your spider. And so then it was like, whoa, this is a game changer, because now I'm using my assets and you're using your assets, and we're going in and we're finding things that we can explore and build together with a collaboration. And this is something that I think is a real game changer. One, it's free. So when we talk about Minecraft in the classroom, Minecraft EDU, you know, that's a paid for product. But Minecraft Earth being actually in our space, so much more relevant. So talk about transforming your community. I will point out really quickly within what Marialice and I did in our own, my own district here, is that the students were challenged to use augmented reality to rebuild an area that had really went by the wayside. There was teachers and money that was invested into this one area through a foundation, and they built in a fountain, and they had water cycling through, and it was an outdoor science area. Well, when that was built, nobody maintained it, and it just went away. No more water coming through. Grass and, you know, lots of things started growing where it wasn't supposed to be growing and where it wasn't built, intended to build. And the students actually had to rethink what that can look like and why that should be any different. One is the kids had no idea it was even there, which is really sad because it wasn't built too much earlier than how old they are. But yet they had no idea it was there. But two is they were really affected by it not being there and available. Two, not just them, this is what was interesting, in their augmented reality, they were actually placing animals that were going to be affected by that water cycle, that water source not being there anymore. And so instead of it being like, my outdoor classroom's wrong, instead they really caught on to the gist of this. How does this not just affect me, but how does this affect others? How does this affect, you know, the animals that are around here that relied on that water? And how does that affect our learning in the future? How does that affect generations to come after that, now that this isn't available? So they redesigned that space and then captured a video and explained their space using augmented reality. And I think that's really powerful. So both are incredible tools, lots of great options that we have to build our students up to think beyond just themselves, but how does it impact others?
We're finally to our T, which is really about using tech for good. So like I said, digital citizenship, it's really broad. I try to avoid, like I generally try to avoid when people ask, what do I do? What's my work? Because it means so many things. I generally have been using digital sportsmanship, or I've been using use tech for good. And everybody really understands what that means about use tech for good. I even look at what's happening right now and Some Good News. I love what's happening. If you have not checked out Some Good News, it's been fabulous. It's been really highlighting the positive. This is just where DigCit Kids really started, where my son was like, why are adults talking about this? Why aren't kids inspiring and empowering other kids, sharing their voice, solving problems and empowering others? In the very, very beginning, this is what was driving us, this quote. I want to ask ourselves, this is from President Barack Obama, I want us to ask ourselves every day, how are you using technology to make a real difference in people's lives? Could you imagine, like I actually try to every morning, you know, you get out of bed and you have choices. And I'm very mindful when I think about that question, what am I going to do? Because all it takes is one person to make a difference, and then one person becomes many. And so use tech for good is using technology and social media for social good. I mean, it's really all the different examples that we've shared, but Jaime, you're gonna share something really special in immersive technology right now about really taking use tech for good really to another healthy platform?
So one of the things that I got this year for my birthday was an Apple Watch. And the reason why I wanted it wasn't just for the tech, because I mean, you know, it's on my wrist, it's small. There's not a whole lot of tech that I can do with that. But what I really appreciated was the benefit of looking at my health, how my sleeping patterns, the exercise, how my heart is doing. And one of the tools that we're sharing right now is called Inside Heart. Little story, my father passed away from a heart attack. He was actually traveling in Fiji, and while he was out traveling, he went out snorkeling and he went under the water pressure, and it does affect your heart. There's a lot of people that it's the second cause other than drowning of what happens if you know, death within snorkeling is your heart. It puts pressure on your heart, and for him, he unfortunately passed away. They weren't able to resuscitate him and get him back. So heart health to me is important. And thankfully I have a pretty good bill of health for my heart at this point, but that is something that I try to be aware of. And I do want to, you know, really evaluate that. But one of the tools out there to really help us, not just with empathy and understanding people's conditions, because I've actually had teachers from this blog post reach out to me saying, hey, I have students with these heart conditions. Is this listed? So in this video, what you're going to see is a visualization in augmented reality showing somebody's heart. Go ahead and push play, and it will show you what this looks like when you place it in your space.
Normal heart rate. Now take a look at this healthy human heart beating at a level of 80 beats per minute. A normal heart rate is defined by 60 to 100 heartbeats per minute in resting adults. Bradycardia is, per definition, below 60, and tachycardia above 100 beats per minute. Myocardial infarction, due to a lack of oxygen supply through a blockage in the coronary vessels. Cells can be damaged or die if not treated quickly. A myocardial infarction, also known as a heart attack, is the irreversible death of heart muscle tissue. The key to recovering is receiving treatment as quickly as possible and arterial hypertension. Arterial hypertension is commonly known as high blood pressure. High blood pressure can result
we're going to go and push pause on that
and should be treated.
So just to get an idea of what that looks like, not only are we visually seeing that the effects and how that adjusts. First off, I'm holding my mobile device looking at this and walking around this heart. But as I get close, my phone vibrates. Well, here we go. My phone vibrates with the beating heart. So I actually feel like I'm holding that heart in my hand as I'm walking around and exploring. But two is the connection now with Inside Heart and your Apple Watch. And what it does is it actually detects your heart rate. Like right now I'm getting time to stand. I get that notification a lot lately. So it's telling me to stand. And so what it's doing is it's actually identifying your heart rate. It's picking up, have you been active enough, and how active you need to be throughout the day. What are your goals? But within Inside Heart on my mobile device and Inside Heart app on my watch, I can actually pick up my heart rate and it shows up here. So instead of looking at the normal heart rate, looking at different complications with your heart, it actually shows you your heart beating. And you can feel it in your hand, you can walk around it, you can explore with it. It's letting you know and tracking all of that at one time. So what a powerful way for our students, if you just want to go ahead and choose escape, a powerful way for our students to really, identify who they are and their own health, but using this technology to really help them track that, to have a goal and really using this in a way that's going to help support them to be healthier.
Jamie, at this point, this is contact information for Jamie and I, as well as Global Minded. So you can find me at the DigCit Institute, Marialice at DigCit Institute, and my different Twitter handles. I tend to use the hashtag DigCitImpact. Jamie is at AR, VR, and EDU. She also uses the hashtag. Not only is it her website, but that's the hashtag she uses. and Global Minded. Again, this whole webinar, this video will be uploaded on Global Minded's YouTube channel. And here's the contact. I know Global Minded is thanking everyone for joining us today as well. And I feel like at this point, I'll stop sharing, Jamie. And I don't know if there are any questions, but I'll be able to tell once I stop sharing.
Yeah, there are questions. But before we go, I mean, I just got to go right back to the beach for those of you that joined us from Pensacola while Marialice is in space. But I definitely want to go through some of the Q&A. I know that there were some questions that had come in, some that were just letting us know. But Katie McNamara, hello, Katie.
Hi, Katie.
We do a global event together called Global Maker Day every October. Katie is part of that organizing team. She's a librarian in California and is just incredible. She does so much with this technology, and she is all about the kids. So her question here is there a list of ideas or lessons that help each impact piece with distant learning? So I think that's a really important question right now, because a lot of us are scrambling for resources to help really solidify. And, you know, everything we just did is really could be all done distant. There's, you know, from answering from the AR perspective, all of these tools are available to our students at home. And, you know, it really boils down to access to tools. You know, do they have the right devices to function with the various technologies, which is why I'm a huge advocate of the cross-platform as much as possible. So if it is available on multiple platforms, I love that. So sorry, I'm answering that live right now. So I will say from the AR perspective, everything can be done virtually as well. Marialice.
I would echo that as well. And I can tell you, I've just gotten lots of, you know, phone calls and emails from different organizations, different people, teachers, school districts. And the first thing is there's like a lot of fear. I don't know. And so it's easier to block and ban. But really, honestly, while we're all home, what a wonderful opportunity while we're on pause to actually put digital citizenship into action. And that's the teachable moment. And that's the teachable moment about that we are part of a larger community, and that we're like, even though we feel isolated and the weather is horrible in Connecticut, hasn't stopped raining, you know, there are ways, meaningful ways that we can put that impact model into action. I know, and I want to give a shout out to teachers really around the world that without any notice have had to pivot very quickly. And instead of really focusing in on the content, like during this pause, why not build community, work on like social emotional learning, work on like mental health awareness. I know May is mental health awareness, but take this opportunity to make real connections. That's really, I think, the best way. Meaningful connections online while we're all at home.
Yes, definitely. And I think that's some of the biggest questions we're getting is like, okay, now what? Well, it's like, well, we've been sharing this stuff for 5 years, and we're finally at a place where people are like, okay, I'm ready now. It's like, good, okay, let's go with this. But you
know what the best part about like what's going to happen in the future, Jamie? Like now that like we have the idea of a blended model for learning. Like, let's look at the positive of where we are right now and what education really can look like.
Absolutely. And it's exciting because finally people are ready to embrace something that, you know, we know has been a huge benefit. Doesn't mean it ever replaces the face-to-face, but it certainly enhances and offers opportunities that can be done beyond just the face-to-face. All right, do you see Renee's question? I'll go ahead and read that one. What was the name of the school that did the toilet paper project?
Okay, so that is Mary Jalland in Scotland. And I don't know if I know the actual name of her school, but she goes by Ellie Primary 1 on Twitter. And she has an elephant, a classroom. Actually, she has 3 classroom elephants. And the idea about learning about the world with the world, way before the situation we're in right now, kind of like Where's Waldo, each elephant has a different role. So Ellie goes around the world, and like actually Jamie and I have co-presented with Ellie. I've keynoted with Ellie, and we've traveled with her. Blue Ellie actually does medical, lots of incredible, that whole story is incredible. Goes with the doctor, and Granny Ellie, who's I think in retirement, she goes around the community. So when those 4 and 5-year-olds went out to the community, it was with Granny Ellie. So I will make sure, and I see in the chat, we will be sending anybody that has registered, will get this Bunsey presentation with all of these links so that you'll have it, and you'll be able to continue to explore. Like we said, Carol had said, and even in that chat, this will be uploaded into the Global Minded YouTube as well. And I
want to just say one thing about Ellie, since this is also an augmented reality opportunity, is that when Marialice had to ship back Ellie to Scotland, it was really sad because literally Ellie went with us to Moscow. I mean, it was so cool. Like everywhere we were going, Ellie was with us. And so it was kind of sad. And I thought, well, when Ellie, go ahead.
We were posting, like that's the best part. So when she was in Moscow, we were posting so that the classroom was learning about our entire trip through Ellie in Moscow, but it was sad to send her back. So keep going.
It was like, where's Waldo? You know, the kids had to identify where they're at and where is Ellie and what, you know, what are the temperatures like, and lots of great discovery, time zone differences and all that good stuff. But in light of that, I said, you know, what if we scanned Ellie and created Ellie in augmented reality? And sure enough, we did. I used an app called Clone, Qlone, and scanned Ellie. She was laid on a like a QR code that you have with the app. I scanned Ellie, and then I was able to take Ellie, and using Merge, I took a Merge cube and put Ellie in the Merge cube like we did with CoSpaces, right? But I did it with their app with Merge. And so I took Ellie and stamped Ellie all over Moscow and took videos of walking around with Ellie kind of floating around in Moscow with us. So what a great opportunity to continue to have Ellie with us, even when she can't be with us here in person, but she was able to be with us in augmented reality.
I just see that there's a question from Roxanne Griffin, from my second year teaching. And it's so true what she just said. Can you imagine if we had these tools? I even look at, Roxanne, I look at even just Immersive Reader alone as an untraditional learner, and just like Jamie's daughter, proud dyslexic. If I had had Immersive Reader, just that alone, what a game changer that would have been in my own educational journey, and the impact as a learner, for sure. Well, Jamie, I know that we're like already over the hour, and it went so quickly, and I feel like at times it was like trying to like make sure we're going to get through it all. So thank you for everyone that joined us today. I feel like with Jamie, like this is just the beginning of like the movie Casablanca at the very end. This is just the beginning of a wonderful relationship. Like this is the beginning of a wonderful conversation, because we are always so willing to be a part of a conversation with you. So Jamie, you end up doing chats all the time. You want to tell them about where they can?
Every Wednesday night, ARVRINEDU is on Twitter. So feel free to join us, connect with the community. Deanne's been in there, Katie's been in there. So Marialice has been in there. And so anybody that is interested in learning, even if you're just in the background watching, feel free to do that. But lots of great people to connect with, including Deanne and Michael Drezick from New York. So they are always doing incredible things. So being able to connect with the community is key. It's just not, you can't do it on your own. You need to have your people to help support you.
No, and that's a great way to end it, because really I feel like, Jamie, you and I are about we, not me. You know, that idea of collectively what we can do together. And next week, we're going to end up really doing a spotlight series on Michael Drezick, Deanne Poland, like the Lakeshore community, because that's what our hope for all school communities to embrace, this willingness to learn side by side. So thank you all for your willingness today.
Thank you. Thank you, Global Minded, for having us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.